Everybody, welcome to Sports Central. Neal, Duncan alongside Marc, Zimmerman, and Zimmy in the house. It's been a long time since you've been on the TV show.
Yeah, it's been a while. All you other big celebrities get the chance to be on the show all the time. I just get to fill in when no one else is
I don't know if it's celebrities as much as you've stayed under the radar for a long time. But welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Excited for this first segment.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. This first segment should be good. Brought to us by the Best Western Auburndale, great partner of ours.
Absolutely, and another great partner of ours is the Ledger Media Group, and Bill Kemp is here with us today to talk about Polk County High School football, and this is one of those subjects that gets everybody revved up in the fall.
Well, you wait all year for this kind of stuff. You have basketball, baseball, it's great, but there's something special about football. And we're 2 weeks away from the Jamboree games. It'll start 2 weeks from tonight.
Well, welcome to Sports Central, and we appreciate you stopping by. And a lot of changes this year. Coaches moving around in the county, and some new looks to programs that kind of had the same head coach for quite a while. But what can we see in some of those changes?
There's a lot. It's like they've taken all the teams and coaches and just put them in a big aquarium and stirred it up, and just to see where they settle at. And you need a map to get everybody there. But, Richard Tate, who was at Ridge last year, and they won the district. They pulled the big upset over Lakeland. He is now at George Jenkins. Haines City has Ron Johnson now, who's come over there. And all of a sudden, this team was 1-9 last year. And a lot of people are picking them to win that district, which that district is, as Coach Johnson said, it's the SEC this year. We have Russ Rogers, who's come down from the Panhandle. He'll be taking over at Ridge to replace Richard Tate. Tommy Lewis is an interesting person that's come on the scene. He came from Hilton Head, South Carolina, and he was the National Christian Athletic Association Coach of the Year twice, in 2006 and 2010. And he takes over at Victory Christian. And a lot of times small schools are taken for granted. I've watched him out there coaching with the 7-on-7s. He's very aggressive, very knowledgeable, and very calm. There's something you'll like about watching him coach. I think big things are in store for that school. There's a lot of change. There's a few more to hit on. Michael Burns comes in at Tenorock. Val Johnson, just in the last week, has gone to All Saints. And Jason Butler will be right here at Bartow. And there's a lot of experience with Jason Butler there, and I think we're going to see some big things out of the Yellow Jackets.
Bill, there's certainly a lot of changes this year, but there are some other teams obviously out there to watch. What are the key teams this year in the county overall?
Well, I think first of all, you got to go right back to that Class 7A District 5, which may be the toughest district, like I said, I've ever seen. I was talking to Richard Tate this morning. He said 25 years of high school coaching. He's never seen one this tough. Usually you hear people with the SEC in the old days, they would say, we beat up on each other, so we don't have a national champ because nobody's undefeated to go play. High school football, that doesn't matter. You get one of those 2 playoff spots, you're in. If you're healthy, you can make a move. Well, when you look at Jenkins, Haines City, Lakeland, and Ridge was that district last year. Now you add Bartow and Kathleen into the mix. Whoever comes out of there, if they're healthy, can go deep. I think Lakeland, they have a little chip on their shoulder, as we were talking about earlier. They lost to Ridge last year. Lakeland is Lakeland. When you say high school football in Florida, right away I'm thinking Lakeland, I'm thinking the Miami teams, Daytona Mainland, stuff like that. They may be flying under the radar, and that's so weird to say for the Lakeland Dreadnoughts. They're flying under the radar, but they may be.
Let's think about it, though. Lakeland is used to playing for state championships.
Right.
They didn't even win their district last year.
Right.
So when you say flying under the radar, there you go.
Right. And you would think there's the first team you're going to talk about, but maybe this is the best thing. From what I understand, out at Stetson about 10 days ago at the FCA camp, they stood toe-to-toe with Apopka, and most people say they got the best of Apopka. Apopka's the defending Class 8A state champion, and I know they're great because I watched them play Winter Haven in the spring game. And there's another team, Winter Haven. The last 3-4 years, Winter Haven has been one of the best teams in this county. Obviously, they've had Adam Lane. Now he's in Gainesville, going to play for the Gators. They've had the Border brothers at quarterback the last 4 years. They're gone. So they're in this situation where they created this pistol offense for the Borders and for Adam Lane. So Coach Charlie Tate's like, what am I going to do? He's at the spring game. He takes to Ryan Mills, one of his defensive backs, and says, "Son, you're playing quarterback." And DeRyan told me he went home and told his mom, and she always wanted him to play quarterback. He says, "Mom, I'm going to be the quarterback." She didn't believe him. She came to practice the next day to see for herself if, in fact, her son's going to be the quarterback. He is. They're staying in the pistol offense. They thought the Apopka game would tell them what to do. And Coach Tate's like, we're going to stay in it, but we're going to go with a little more of a split back set. And you're going to see them run the waggle a lot more. Some bootlegs, naked bootlegs. Get to Ryan Mills out in space and let him throw to Kendrick Holland. And if you know sports in this county, Kendrick Holland, football and basketball, he is right there. This guy is, Auburn's looking at him. He's got like 16 D1 offers right now, and he's going to be a special player.
We talk about that district in Class 7A. What makes that district so tough? I'm assuming it's the number of Division I athletes and Division II and just college-bound kids that are in each of these programs. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's athletes all over the place there. Kathleen, just to run down a few, Javon Harrison. He's right there. He may be the best football player in the county. But then you have to look at Haines City that has Derwin James, who is being listed as one of the best football players in the nation by ESPN. And watching
he's a transfer, right? He was from Auburndale?
He transferred. He was at Auburndale. There were two guys last year, sophomores, from Polk County. Luke Hires from Lake Wales and Derwin James from Auburndale that made the MaxPreps.com All-American team, their sophomore All-American team. Derwin James was one of them. Now, the family, which is originally from Haines City, they went ahead and moved back. They have businesses over there. So, he came out after everything was taken care of paper-wise and went to USF for the sling and shoot with Haines City. You have 45 teams out there, the best teams in the Tampa Bay area, from Lakeland and Orlando, and you start to see who's who over 2 days. When you got to Sunday, by the second day, people that were talking started coming over to the Haines City sidelines. They're saying, "Who's that kid? Who's that kid?" And you hear the words, Florida State, Florida State. He's already committed to Florida State as a freshman. He's that good. It's like he's on a pogo stick out there. They throw the ball up in the end zone, 5 guys go up, and all of a sudden he's just up in the trees, emerging among it. You remember Charles Woodson's one-handed catch against Michigan State that really won the Heisman? That's what he looks like out there.
Wow.
And he can just make things
He's
happen.
a junior.
He's a rising junior. That's right, this year. Now, ESPN says this is one of the top 300 football players in the country, and I agree. And Coach Johnson says he's going to be a first-round NFL draft choice one day. I agree. But Coach Johnson says he's not the best football player on his team. It's Decorous Law, DJ Law, the running back, who for the last 2 years has been running out of that I formation between the tackles, powering ahead, and now he's got an offer from Urban Meyer to go to Ohio State. So he is good. And he's a power back. I like that kind of runner. We're going to see the same thing from Lakeland Christian with T.J. Simmons, that name. Obviously, he's got an offer from the Gators. He can run between the tackles, power, speed. You get him going to the outside on a quick pitch right. If he plants that foot and makes that turn, he's gone 80 yards that fast because he's got the real 4.3 speed.
Just to deviate for a minute here, we talk about the coverage that these athletes get. I mean, you look right here at the Ledger Media Group, has PolkPreps.com, and the way you guys cover what's going on in high school sports here in Polk County. How have you seen the coverage change, going back? Because before, they had to sell themselves to schools to try to get recruited. Now, it's all over the internet, it's all over these camps, these 7-on-7s. How have you seen it change, and how has Polk County benefited from the change in technology and recruiting these kids?
The landscape is totally different out there now. And I think the key phrase is the 7-on-7s. This used to be something you went to 5 years ago for the quarterbacks and receivers to have something to do, build some timing besides lifting weights.
Right.
It's become a sport in the summer. I mean, there's huge turnouts. When you go to these events at UCF and USF, there's recruiters all over the place. There's tents set up. It's like a beach day. The parents all come, everybody's got food, and you get to see, it's become a season in itself. And there's championships. Now, the Polk County, they're playing right there with everybody. USF has 2 sling and shoots. They did one in June and one in July. The small one in June, Lake Gibson shows up there. Nobody's looking at him. They were 2 plays away from getting into the championship game out there. They got Trey Congdon at quarterback. He threw for 2,000 yards last year, led this county in passing. He's got all the tools to be a Division I quarterback. He sets up, he throws off the right foot. His thumb is pointed to the ground when that ball's released. 30-yard tight spirals. You like what you see out of him. He doesn't panic in the pocket. They lost 2 key receivers last year. They come right back. Chris Clark comes out there running back. Looked like the best player at the 7-on-7 that day, and he wasn't even a target for him last year. That's how fast Congdon made the adjustments to start hitting guys. You're going, what is this, Montana to Rice or something? That team's going to be very good again. They kind of dethroned Winter Haven last year in that district and beat them. Maybe Winter Haven has a chip on their shoulder now. That's going to be a great football game, Winter Haven, Lake Gibson. But the thing that's back is after a 3-year hiatus, we have Lakeland playing Winter Haven again. I think the whole county is going to turn out for that one. It'll be a helmet cracker.
So you mentioned a couple of the games. Any other key matchups throughout the season that we need to keep our eye on?
Yeah, I think the old Battle of 17, when Bartow and Frostproof go at it, is going to be good. In that district, Fort Meade and Frostproof. Fort Meade, they really opened my eyes out last week at the FCA camp at Lakeland Christian. They kind of came out of nowhere, under the radar, again, to use that phrase, and won that tournament with Tobias Culpepper. When you look at him, he's not the super tall kid, he's not the super strong kid, but he makes plays. As Jason Butler from Bartow said after the championship game, that kid made the best interception I've ever saw on us. We couldn't have thrown the ball any better, but he turned around on a dime and snagged the ball and pretty much stole the show out there. There's.
Well, it's been a number of years, and Polk County is not necessarily used to this. We've had a number of basketball teams, and of course the basketball talent here in Polk County kind of flies under the radar, if you will,
right,
because it's overshadowed by football. But recently, football, there's not been state championships the last 3 or 4 years in football. I think Lakeland might have been the last one in the county to win a state championship. You said that going back to Class 7A, you think there's a potential for a team from that district, if they're healthy, to make a run deep into the playoffs. Do you see any other levels or classifications where there might be a state title for Polk County?
Yeah, 3A10. For the small schools, you have Berkeley Prep in there, Bishop McLaughlin, Frostproof, Fort Meade, Lakeland Christian. This is a very competitive, tough district, and I think somebody out of there could make a run to the state championship, or at least to get to the semifinals. I think who's ever coming out of 7A5 is going to play in the state championship game. I just really, really believe it. Miami schools, Lauderdale, they always seem to get there, St. Thomas Aquinas, but I think you're going to see 1, maybe 2 Polk County teams playing for a state championship this year, and one of them's going to get it. The time has come. There's a cycle to sports, and it's right there. And if it doesn't happen this year, you're going to see it next year, because as great as these athletes are, when you talk to any coach, like a Rod Schaefer at Lake Wales that's been around, the junior class in Polk County is better than the senior class, and the senior class is great.
Well, that's certainly some great coverage. Talk to us a little bit about the Ledger Media Group and the coverage between the Ledger and the News Chief, and what citizens of Polk County can expect in that coverage of their local team.
Well, we're going full force, and we're expanding. We're adding some video and things like that out there. The News Chief really focuses on East Polk, so you get your Lake Regions, your Winter Havens, Haines City, Auburndale, and there'll always be those key stories for them. The Ledger, has the whole ball of wax there. The staff, we've got more stringers than ever before. We're just going to go at it. We're trying to be aggressive with it. It's fun. If you love sports, it's not even work, and you can be going around the clock doing it. So.
And of course, you can always go to theledger.com for up-to-date live scoring of the games, and so if you're in one location, you can keep up with what's going on in the other games.
Right, polkpreps.com, and that's being retooled a little bit, so you'll see some changes on that coming up right about kickoff time for the Jamboree games.
All right, Bill. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to another successful fall campaign for high school football here in Polk County.